and today we are talking about boundaries. Boundaries, yes, we love it. We love talking about boundaries. We love setting boundaries because when we have boundaries in place, it is helping us take care of our mental health, our overall well-being, and it's so important. And even more so, we're going to talk about boundaries and setting them with family members. Yes, you can set boundaries with family members, and most of the time it is absolutely necessary. And you have to do it without guilt, and you have to do it knowing that it is for you. When we put boundaries in place, we're putting them in place for ourselves to protect our mental health, to protect our energy, to protect our emotions. We are using boundaries as a protective factor, and unfortunately we have to implement them with people that may be close to us. It could be our family members, could be our friends, could be people at work. But most importantly, know that you should never feel guilty about setting boundaries. So I want to put that out there right here, right now. Setting boundaries is a good thing. In fact, if you're just living life and communicating with people and engaging with people without setting boundaries, quite frankly, I fear for your connections, your friendships, and your partnerships. So set the boundaries. Okay, more specifically, let's talk about family. We just got past the holidays, and we have some what's coming up. We have like Valentine's Day and things like that, but Mother's Day and all those things that are coming up if you celebrate that type of thing, or you just like to be around community. But we just got out of Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's, where a lot of people are typically around their families. And what I'm starting to notice, especially within my small group of people, is that people are spending their time where they want to spend their time. And a part of that is because they are setting boundaries with their time. Just because someone is your family member does not mean that you have to go and be around them if they drain your energy. If they are toxic people, no matter if they're your family or your friends or a superior, whatever that may be, if they drain your energy, you don't have to be around them. And you can set the boundary of your time. Absolutely. And I think it's because it's ingrained in us as a society. We are mostly a part of this collective mind frame and a collective society. So we crave being accepted, we crave family traditions. And even though generations now are starting to walk away from that and put themselves first, that's amazing. But we do still sometimes deal with that. Well, that's my mom, or that's my uncle, or that's my cousin. We still deal with that and feel like we put up so much more than we would typically put up with people that are outside of our family. And it's because of that collectivist nature that we have when it comes to family, especially within the Black and brown community. It's important, period, to set boundaries. And I think that when it comes to your energy, you have to protect it. And an important thing to keep in mind is that when you have a boundary, not only do you have to first identify, how is my time being manipulated? How am I feeling an imbalance when I'm around this person? And if there's an imbalance, then you say, okay, I need to clearly set a boundary. Once you set that boundary, keep in mind you have to then identify who you need to put that boundary with, who you need to express that boundary to. So communication is what you have to do next. And a part of that communication is saying, hey, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to make it. I'm sorry, but I have other plans. Sometimes it needs to be as simple as no. I can't do it. I'm sorry. No, can't do it. It has to be that simple sometimes too. So keep in mind that whatever the boundary is that you need to set, you have to communicate it and you have to stick with it. It is up to you to stick to your boundaries. We can't expect everyone to follow along with our boundaries. We put those boundaries in place for us. So we have to know that if we're setting this, it means that we are going to follow through with it no matter what. And when you put something, when someone's been treating you a certain way and then you switch the game up, of course, they're not going to be happy with it. There's going to be pushback. So it's your job to follow through with that boundary, not theirs. Eventually they will, but it is your job to have that consistency and know that you're doing this to protect yourself. despite who it is. I want you to remove the idea that this person is your family member and think solely about you. What is best for your mental health? What is best for your emotional health? What's good? If every time you're around someone, you're being triggered or activated by the things that they're doing or saying, you can set up a boundary. And your boundary could be, I'm not coming around this person. I'm not doing it. And that's fine. It's okay. You don't have to get along with all your family members. You can still love and respect them and still not be around them. Yes, or you can still love and respect them and only spend certain holidays or only spend certain amount of time with them. And even if you are in like a distance where you live far away from your family, and let's say that you have a family member that calls you all the time and it's always drama, always this toxic energy, talking about whatever in the world is going on, and it's draining to you. When you get off the phone, you feel exhausted, completely exhausted. And if that's the case, then the boundary may be that you need to not talk to that person that much. Set it in your mind that, hey, if this person calls me, I'm only going to answer on Monday and Wednesday or Saturday and Tuesday, whatever that is. Set that boundary, stick to that boundary, and you can communicate that boundary. Say, hey, you know, I'm busy, bro, sis, whomever, I'm a busy person, and if you want to talk to me, we can talk during these times. And a lot of people are like, you know, why would I say that to my family member? They should have access to me all the time. No, that means that you're functioning without boundaries. No one should have access to you all the time. That means that you're not preserving your energy and taking care of you. So if someone has access to you just like that all the time, you know you need to set some boundaries. You need to figure out what it is you need to set up, and you need to do it. Because all relationships need structure and boundaries, because it is protective. Boundaries protect you and keep you mentally sane, emotionally healthy. We need them. So think about this. Who do you need to set boundaries with? Is it a family member in particular? Is it your family as a whole? Is it just centered around the holidays? Whatever it is, I want you to identify what boundaries need to be set. I want you to then figure out how you're going to maintain consistency. If you know that you're going to not be consistent, this is like conditioning, guys, like in psychology. This is literally like conditioning someone to do something. You're conditioning a behavior. You don't like this behavior, meaning don't call me with the bullshit. I'm going to condition you to know that I'm not the one you need to call with the bullshit, because I'm setting boundaries to where I don't want to hear that. I don't want my energy drained. So if you know that you're in a place where you can't be consistent, or you're like, oh, well, I'll allow it sometimes, they're going to look at your boundary as hogwash. Like, she just talking crazy. She don't really mean that. She gonna be here on Thanksgiving. Set that boundary and know that you can be consistent with it. And once you begin to act in that way, people will have no choice but to follow suit, because that's the only way that they'll have access to you. So don't expect people to immediately follow through with your boundaries, but that doesn't mean that you don't need to be consistent, and it doesn't mean that you should feel bad about it. Of course, if people, like I said, have been treating you a certain way or have used to having full access, and you limit that access, it's like, what is happening? So that's a natural response on their behalf. Please do not let that stop you from setting those boundaries. So think about it. How can you set boundaries? Who do you need to set boundaries with? And of course, I end this with a challenge. How will you set boundaries, and when will you do it? I want you to think about that and comment below. Let me know how it goes. And of course, join my private Facebook group, where we're always talking about different topics, and we'll keep this topic and this conversation going on in the private Facebook group. All right, sis. Happy boundary setting, boo. I'll see you later. Bye, guys.